This morning, show of force. North Korea putting its pride on parade at its anniversary celebration as Kim Jong-un is locked in a war of words with the United States. The new weapons in North Korea's arsenal. Will this lead to a nuclear test? The comments from North Korea this morning.
Situation Room South. President Trump monitoring North Korea from Mar-a-Lago as he did with those airstrikes on Syria. With most of his senior staff back in D.C., who's advising him in Florida as he deals with the rising tensions?
Commuter chaos. Look at this. The frightening scene at the nation's busiest rail terminal, New York's Penn Station, during the start of Easter weekend. Panicked tourists ducking for cover, luggage and shoes left behind. The terrified moved to tears. What set this thing off?
And searching for secrets in The Last Jedi. Our first look at Episode 8 in the Star Wars saga. My sit down with the stars with new hints on the storyline.
And I think how the Last Jedi starts and the journey we go on is perhaps unexpected.
And the final word on the part the late Carrie Fisher will play. It's everything fans need to know as we say,
Good morning, America.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Hey, good morning, and let's get straight to the developing and very dangerous story out of North Korea.
And we want you to take a look at dueling images this morning. This is a military parade mounted by North Korea just hours ago and prominently on display what the North Korean government claims are new missiles.
Meanwhile, this morning, the U.S. and South Korean tanks are moving into position for a joint military exercise near the border with North Korea.
And of course, this is all playing out against a backdrop of tit-for-tat threats between President Donald Trump and the reclusive North Korean regime. The North Koreans saying they're ready for war if Trump wants it. Meantime, the world is watching whether the North Koreans will conduct yet another nuclear test.
We've got team coverage this morning, and we're going to start with ABC's chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, who's in Seoul, South Korea.
This morning, a military parade in the North Korean capital, Pyongyang, to mark the 105th birthday of Kim Il-sung, the country's late founder and grandfather of the current leader, Kim Jong-un. Tens of thousands of North Koreans gathered to celebrate the holiday known as the Day of the Sun. The highly choreographed parade complete with flybys, tanks, marching soldiers, and what may be intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the United States. Also on display among the plethora of war machines, for the first time, submarine-launched missiles. They are the newest weapons in the unpredictable Kim Jong-un's arsenal. Analysts were anticipating a possible test of its nuclear weapons or another escalation of the standoff between Kim's regime and the White House. On Friday, as the Chinese Foreign Ministry warned, no one will win if the two sides go to war, a top North Korean official told the Associated Press the Trump administration is more vicious and more aggressive than its predecessor. Trump is always using aggressive words, he says, singling out the president's tweets. It is the U.S. that is threatening us. Talking to reporters, President Trump offered this summary of his stance toward the Hermit Kingdom.
North Korea is a problem. The problem will be taken care of.
The U.S. now sending the aircraft carrier, the USS Vinson, into the region. American troops conducting military exercises along the border. North Korea now reportedly calling the administration's words and actions maniacal military provocations. And this threat, we will go to war if they choose. Adding, they could destroy major American military bases in South Korea within minutes. But Dan and Paula, here at Osan Air Base in South Korea, they say that is all talk. North Korea may try to attack this base, but they're well prepared to stop them. Dan and Paula?
Let's hope it's all talk. Martha Raddatz reporting from South Korea. And let's bring in now retired Marine Corps Colonel and ABC News contributor Steve Ganyard, who served in the Pentagon and also as a fighter pilot. Steve is in Washington. Steve, good morning. Let's talk about the new missiles that North Korea unveiled, what appears to be an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile, and also some submarine missiles. Do we think these are actually operational?
Some of them are, some of them aren't, Dan. I think the submarine missile, we saw a test earlier in the year, quite concerning because the submarine can hide and you can put it off the coast of either Korea or Japan. The larger missiles are the ones that are most concerning, and these are the intercontinental ballistic missiles that can conceivably reach the U.S. First time we've seen them, the number of missiles and the capability on display here is quite disturbing.
And in terms of retaliatory military action, Steve, the U.S. now has what could be a game changer. What can you tell us about that?
Paula, there's a new missile or a new capability that the U.S. has that's based around high-power microwaves. It's a burst of electromagnetic energy, the same thing you would find in a nuclear weapon. But they've been able to put this in a stealthy cruise missile. It's not talked about it much because it's brand new, but it is a tool that the president would have. The idea here being that this electromagnetic pulse would fly over an area such as where the North Koreans would be conducting a nuclear test, and it would send this microwave energy into the ground. It would be absorbed by anything that was electrical. It would go into the ground and fry everything underneath. Nobody gets hurt, just everything stops working that uses electricity. So we'll watch for that because that's something new that President Trump would have in his quiver.
Steve, given that North Korea did nuclear tests twice last year, I believe, what is new here? And are the increased tensions we're seeing right now due to North Korea or due to Trump's tough talk?
There's not much new here because Kim Jong-un continues to ramp up the pressure, continues to move towards not only a nuclear capability, but the means to deliver. That's what we're seeing here. He's getting missiles that can travel farther distances, and one of the missiles we saw today could actually potentially reach the United States. That's what's most disturbing. So we've had Democratic presidents and Republican presidents that have kicked this problem down the road for 20 years, but we're getting to that point where the North could now threaten directly the U.S. homeland, which is why it seems President Trump is taking this problem head on.
Unsettling, to say the least. Steve, thank you very much.
And speaking of President Trump, he is monitoring the North Korea situation from Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, where he's spending the Easter holiday. Our David Wright is there with more on how the president is handling this ongoing situation, especially, David, most of his senior staff remains in D.C. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Paul. The White House says the president's getting regular updates on the situation in North Korea, but as you say, he's here with pretty much a bare-bones staff. We're told that 2 members of his national security team are here, one of them an expert in the Korean Peninsula, but virtually all of his senior staff members are elsewhere. Steve Bannon, Reince Priebus, Sean Spicer, all back in Washington for the Easter holiday. And son-in-law Jared Kushner is off skiing with his family. Of course, Vice President Mike Pence is headed to South Korea to monitor the situation there. But you know, there have been concerns raised in the past about Mar-a-Lago, whether a beach club is a secure enough place to monitor a situation as serious as this. You remember that photo from a few months ago when the president and the prime minister of Japan were there out in the dining room looking at cell phones as North Korea launched a previous missile test. Well, there have been some changes made since then. Last weekend, when the president launched missiles against Syria, you saw him with his advisors in a makeshift war room. It's called a SCIF, a secure compartmented information facility. It's now a regular feature there. Bottom line, the White House says the president is prepared, is following the situation as he would back in the White House, and can respond as needed. Dan and Paula?
David, thank you. Let's go to ABC News political commentator Cokie Roberts, who's joining us from South Carolina. Cokie, good morning. You have watched many presidents deal with foreign policy crises. What's your read on how Trump is handling this one with North Korea?
Well, as Steve Gagnon said, watch many presidents deal with North Korea. It's just a perpetual problem. And of course, President Trump came in with lots of bellicose language and many tweets about how he was not going to let North Korea do anything bad. And it was not terribly heartening when he told the Wall Street Journal that after 10 minutes with the Chinese leader, he had come to understand that North Korea was complicated. But at least he has come to understand that, and I think that he will probably be somewhat cautious here. And of course, the Japanese and South Koreans are very much involved in this. But to be fair, 4 administrations have not succeeded in getting the North Koreans to not nuclearize their arsenal, and it's getting more and more and more dangerous.
And Cokie, what do you make of Trump's military approach, basically emboldening his generals to make decisions without even consulting him first?
Well, I think that a lot of that's been true for a long time, Paula. But again, this is part of President Trump trying to portray a very tough image and say, you know, my generals, as he calls them, are going to be in charge and not have to worry about some lily-livered politician. But I think that the military is well aware of the constraints upon them, even if the president not necessarily is.
How do we square, Koki, these recent spate of military actions or threats of military action, like the large bomb we saw dropped in Afghanistan, the strike against Syria, and of course now the tough talk with North Korea? How do we square that with President Trump's avowed America First campaign promises?
Well, you basically can't square it, Dan, but he would say, you know, that I think President Trump would say, well, this is America strong, and that this is showing the world that you can't push us around. And I certainly think you can make the case that saying that the use of chemical weapons is unacceptable and against our national interest, that getting rid of terrorists in Afghanistan is pro our national interest, and that being very alert when it comes to North Korea and making sure that they don't do anything precipitous is also in our national interest. But it's very different from the rhetoric we heard all through the campaign, which was basically we're going to concentrate all of our energies here at home, jobs, 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 and forget about those foreign places. You know, presidents discover that the world actually does need them and they have to pay attention. Thank heaven.
Koki Roberts, we're lucky to have your analysis on a Saturday morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
And we're going to be following the situation in North Korea throughout the day, right here on ABC News and abcnews.com. But we're going to turn now to the contagion of panic that rolled through one of the busiest commuter hubs in America.
Yeah, the chaos at a packed Penn Station. You can look at the video right here. This is in New York City. Passengers stampeding after what some people thought may be gunfire. And ABC's Kenneth Moten is right there on the scene. Kenneth, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. Penn Station is back up and running this place, the scene of rush hour madness.
Mass hysteria. Thousands of Easter weekend travelers running in panic. Watch as this man falls. He was helped up as confused commuters ran by him. 16 injured as people pushed and shoved their way through the crowded concourses. Sparked by reports of an active shooter in New York City's Penn Station.
Be advised, no shots fired. The taser went off.
That's right, no gunshots. It turns out the mayhem was caused by a taser.
Individual was tased.
Amtrak police say they used it on this man in the middle of a crowded terminal. Incredible video as people ducked for cover. Many left their luggage, even their shoes behind. Families separated.
Michael, where'd my son go?
The panic caused a ripple effect reaching Macy's a block away, where tourists were swept up by the fear of the worst.
I just took them and ran to the back of the store, and we jumped over the counter and just hid in one of the storage rooms.
Penn Station was packed more than usual because a broken down train caused major delays. This morning, police say those injuries during the commotion, all non-life threatening, Paula.
Oh, what a wild scene, Kenneth. Thanks for your reporting this morning. And tomorrow is Easter. This Easter weekend, security at churches around the world is being stepped up less than a week after suicide bombers targeted Christians in Egypt on Palm Sunday. Now, safety measures, especially high in Rome, where many are gathering to celebrate Holy Week. ABC's Lindsay Janis has more from just outside the Vatican.
This morning, Rome on high alert as hundreds of thousands of pilgrims gather to celebrate Easter. Authorities stepping up security after suicide bombers targeted Christian churches in Egypt, killing dozens at the start of Holy Week. An army of law enforcement agents and bomb-sniffing dogs deployed across the Italian capital. Dozens of streets closed to traffic to prevent truck attacks like those seen in London, Berlin, and Nice. On Friday, a bomb squad dispatched over a suspicious package.
After last Sunday, it made me a little bit more nervous, but this is a once-in-a-life opportunity for me and for my family.
This is one of several checkpoints for people hoping to see the Pope. You can see they're checking bags and even patting some people down. Despite the risk, Pope Francis keeping up with tradition. leading a Good Friday ceremony at the Colosseum in front of an estimated 20,000. In his closing prayer, the pontiff said the world should be ashamed of daily scenes of bombed cities and drowned migrants.
Earlier this week, the Pope renewed his calls for an end to the war in Syria. He will celebrate Easter Sunday Mass in front of another huge crowd. Officials here reminding everyone to stay vigilant. Paul and Dan?
Looks like a beautiful day in Rome. We're wishing a peaceful weekend to everybody there. Lindsay, thank you. Let's check the other headlines this morning with a bespectacled. Oh, you took them off. You just had your spectacles on.
Can you put them
Dr.
back on?
Ron Claiborne, put them back on.
I'll put them back on.
All
All
right,
right,
there we go.
I may not be able to do that well. Dan, good morning to you. Paula, good morning to you. Adrian.
What's up, Ron?
And Robert. Ronald, how are you? I'm going to take these off. Good morning, everyone. We're going to begin in Arkansas, where a judge has issued an order to stop lethal injections from being given to 6 death row inmates who are scheduled to be executed starting this coming Monday. This comes after the company that makes the drug that was to be used said it wasn't meant to be used for capital punishment purposes, saying they believed or thought that the prisoner would use them only for medical purposes. And in Boston, former NFL star Aaron Hernandez found not guilty of double murder. A jury acquitting Hernandez Friday of charges that he killed 2 people in a drive-by shooting in 2012. The defense had claimed that the prosecution's star witness was the actual killer. Hernandez is already serving a life sentence on a previous murder conviction while he was playing for the New England Patriots. And a 10-day nationwide manhunt for a Wisconsin fugitive said to be armed and dangerous. That is finally over. Joseph Jakubowski behind bars this morning after police responded to a report of a man camping out on someone's property in rural Wisconsin. Jakubowski had been on the run since April 4th after he allegedly stole 18 weapons from a gun shop and threatened to carry out attacks at churches. And the White House says that the logs of those who come to visit will no longer be made public. The Trump administration ending an Obama-era practice of making most of those records public through the White House website. Now those visitor logs will be kept secret and may not be available for years. The White House citing national security concerns for the change. The decision already being challenged by government watchdog groups. And reports of shark attacks in 2 different parts of the U.S. and Florida. A teenager in Jacksonville was bit on the ankle and foot while he was surfing on Friday. This is the 2nd shark attack on the Florida coast in just 3 days. And in Hawaii, a French tourist critically injured on Kauai Beach after a shark bit his leg. That beach now closed. And finally, as if the sport isn't hard enough, as you know, as a golfer in Australia found some extra obstacles to deal with while playing around there. This is what Greg Tanos, that's his name, saw when he was playing at Sanctuary Point Country Club in New South Wales. That is a troop of kangaroos or roos on the course. They didn't stop him from playing anyway.
Wow.
That's a lot of kangaroos.
That's brave. That's a troop, all right.
He said they had great golf etiquette. They actually stayed silent while he was putting.
Nobody was yelling Noonan?
That's pretty wild, isn't it?
So is that the term, troop of kangaroos?
It is a troop or a mob or a court.
That is a group of
kangaroos.
That looked like a mob for sure. I think Adrian was
They
right
were
about
not
that.
to be bothered.
I love words for groups of animals. You know what a group of crows is?
Oh, no.
A murder of crows.
A gaggle of crows.
You've told us
It's a
that
murder
before,
of crow, yes.
and I still didn't remember.
Yep. Anyway, time for the weather with the murderously handsome
goodness.
Marciano.
All right. Take a look at this storm. That poor transition. Could have been murderous, but thankfully was not. This is impressive. My goodness. This out of Demet, Texas yesterday. Look at that wedge, multi-vortex tornado. You can kind of see the different vortices swirling around the outside part of that there. It kind of ropes out a little bit. And this is an earlier shot where there was a couple of tornadoes dropping just to the west of Demet, Texas. Just one cell, but dropping multiple tornadoes. Luckily, just doing some minor damage, and nobody got hurt with this. The severe weather threat today moves a little bit farther north and east. Woodward, Wichita, Kansas City, getting up through Des Moines. Maybe some strong winds, hail, maybe a tornado as well. And some rain from getting into Chicago, I think, later on tonight as this entire thing moves off towards the east. That's a quick check on what's going on nationally. Here now is your local forecast.
As we start things off for this morning, temperatures in the mid-50s, and we are gearing up for a major warm-up into the D.C. area this weekend. We have the Nationals taking on the Phillies at 1:05 today. First pitch, some cloud cover and some sunshine. Those temperatures in the mid-70s right through the later half of the game, and we could be talking a stray afternoon shower. Here's a look at your Easter Sunday forecast. Daytime highs in the mid-80s, definitely well above our average for this time of year. Some sunshine also expected for Sunday.
A very summer-like Easter Sunday forecast coming up in the next half an hour. Meanwhile, Ron Claiborne has drastically changed his look. He joins